The impact of influence, Robert Edward Smith Jr. When I am coaching one, I'm coaching all. When I'm loving one, I'm loving all. That leads me to Robert Smith. Robert Edward Bobby Smith Jr. Influence is the result of purposeful force on anything or any person. It is the movement or change of standing of one thing or person on another, or others due to intersection with another. The impact is the next thing after that intersection, then the next thing, and the next thing. Think of it this way. You have influenced people you have never met. You have influenced 2 or 3 generations. You have impacted the lives of people directly, and no matter on purpose or not, that impact has a reach that travels generationally. Your students raise their kids in your voice. Your players become coaches using your voice. Your community's influence comes from each generation, directly sending those next generations into a better place in space. And it makes you ask, how powerful are you? What happens because of you goes beyond the geography of the act. Impact changes information, direction, and location. It is an exercise of hope and an act of power. One who influences is powerful. When influence's power comes from love, it makes everything different. It also makes it better. It can change a person internally and externally. It changes the reason why a thing happens and how that thing has an impact. It changes who does that thing, and it changes the result of that thing. We are all influencers, whether we're aware or not. My challenge for us is that we purposefully become positive influences. Mom is always the great first influencer, the first love, then dad, grandparents, and then siblings. Sometimes the influencers are educators, coaches, or a mentor. Communities and schools influence us all. Places of worship and organizations have influence. Everything in repetition is influence. Everything in repetition by choice is positive influence. The volume can be impactful. In a perfect world, the source of us and that influence should be positive. Parents are the primary source and standard for influence. They set the bar for what good influence looks like, feels like, and sounds like. It also sets the standard for how it's received. Great habits are born here. The definition of home and family could be love as its great influence, or not. Flashback to my first hero, not named Mom. His name was Robert Smith, my second oldest brother, this talented, charismatic, and charming soul. He had swagger before I knew what the word meant. I heard it described as positive energy. Robert changed every room he ever entered and changed every person he crossed paths with for the better. My brother was this powerful force of nature that moved the wind, negated friction, and accelerated life itself. Imagine a human moving with such strength and purpose, so crazy explosiveness that they move faster than anything or anyone else in that space. This human freight train, this powerful, living locomotive steaming away from everyone else, made his mark in the world. I could hear him breathing, choo, 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 in human form as he moved mass and invaded the next space. That choo-choo sound was a soundtrack to my youth and his action. The moment required the choo-choo. That hero played football and he ran. He ran and he played football. Eventually, he gave up football because he only played it so that he could run while playing it. Robert played football like every defense in creation was after him. My goodness, he ran. There was this elegant fire about my brother. Robert would flash this ferocious grin right before he ran, disarming his opponents, and then click. Robert would snap into this matrix-like trance as everything else slowed down around him at his command. My hero isolated and gathered himself, muscles contracted and veins stood at attention. Robert wore no cape, but his afro was a symbol of force instead. That afro would bounce and lean and rumble with his movements. It was all an announcement of the pending explosion. The fans would say, "Here he comes. Here he comes. Look at him go." The first time I saw him run within a sport, it changed my life and mine forever. It was the first time I called something athletic and poetry. I called it art. You just stood there and watched others fall into a trance. Robert Smith ran simultaneously with force, grace, and purpose. I first became aware of his status in the universe when he was in high school running track. His name became mine. I was Little Bob. Talk about impact. Little Bob was expected to fly because Big Bob did. I would sit and listen to him and his teammates and his friends talk about life, the race, each other. I would laugh at jokes, not understanding the punchline and only caring about the fact that he said it and he howled, they howled. That was good enough. That was power. I also sat close and paid attention to the way people responded to him, the way they reacted to him. They did not just witness him, they responded and reacted. I watched as female runners and fans walked near, some whispering audibly, "There he is," and some yelling, "That's Robert Smith right there." I paid attention to all the attention he was getting. I am not sure if he did. He had other things on his mind. The task was most important. Everything else was a byproduct of the race and his skill. I once asked him if he heard them all, and he said, "I hear all of them, but I can't pay attention to them. They could be here to get me to lose, and I won't let them." Well, I never forgot that. I also never forgot the smile on his face when he said it. That smile affected me. He was my inspiration. Playing the games I love, I imitated that smile. The fans were probably curious why he didn't wear a cape. He didn't need one. Looking ahead of the track, Robert would look down at his shoes. Focused, he never looked sideways or behind him, only forward. I remember watching him stretch and warm up. Everything happened with purpose. Move this to move that. Stretch that to stretch this. On some days, I would sit near the starting blocks at his races. It was like watching a transformation. The coiling of his body was awe-inspiring. It's almost as if he was packing his entire body and all those muscles into this ridiculously small space. On purpose. The smaller he would get, the more power he would have at his unraveling. Total silence. In the starter's block, and then boom. Sitting on the final turn of the track, I would just wait. It was strange now that I think about it. Witnessing him run, I don't ever recall his feet hitting the ground. Honestly, he looked like he was almost flying, pedaling in the air. But my favorite thing was hearing him run. Not his feet, his breath, his breathing. Giving a train human characteristics. They would call it Robert. One breath, exhale. One breath, exhale. Like a churn, steam rushing through the locomotive's chest. His power was unyielding. And then there was the lean, or lack of one. He would hit the turn with such violence and force that he appeared to be refusing to accept gravity. He fought through the lean because it wasn't useful. It was a powerful, powerful thing because he was powerful. The lean was more of an agreement between him and physics. Gravity allowed his motions with this agreement: I won't fall and I won't resist. It was beautiful to watch. The finish line was a coronation. It was the place where the smile returned. His humanity returned. My brother had completed the mission. He was a local track hero. He would travel for track meets and come home with t-shirts from around the area and around the country. When he traveled, I did too. What he ate, I tasted. What he saw, my eyes would imagine. He lived my dreams out in color and shape. It was important because it made me curious about those places and the people. I was curious about the races and more importantly, about the process. I saw him come home from practice exhausted, only to see him go straight to the backyard to lift weights. He committed to becoming stronger. He was relentless in his pursuit of strength. Each rep, every single one was to be better than the last. My brother was also intelligent, understanding, so much so that his curiosity was a gift. His ability to use that curiosity would help him in life. It helped me. Robert would take every opportunity to answer me when I asked him any type of query. There were no dumb questions with him. He wanted me to know. He chose to attend tiny Lipscomb University in Nashville, Tennessee in the fall. Determination and focus allowed his curiosity to ask more than most. Arriving on campus, he changed the conversation about scholarships and academics. Taking a big risk, he requested his track coach switch his scholarship from athletic to academic. The coach pondered and then agreed. Robert reasoned that the university could take away his athletic scholarship for any reason, but not the academic scholarship. If he did the work, he would be fine. The only hang-up here was my brother was being an average student grade-wise before that. Our mother had difficulty believing that he would receive an academic scholarship based on his high school academic record. I didn't understand his choice until later. With an effective intelligence and mastery of his courses, he kept his academic scholarship his entire career. He became proficient on the track as well. As an All-American, he earned an invitation to the Olympic trials in several events. More stories, more friction, more curiosity, more strength. He would come home and pop his head into whatever sporting event I had going on. He would sit in the stands and watch me play baseball. I stole 4 bases one of those nights because I wanted him to be proud of me and to see me run. By most standards, I was fast. I just wasn't Robert fast, but that was okay. He said, "You're baseball fast. It's fun to watch you run the bases." It meant the entire world to me. When I got to college in Richmond, he got me settled in. He would remind me to take care of the small stuff. He would remind me to honor our first hero, Mom. He would teach and educate, and he would love. He would show up, which is always the impact of an influencer. They show up and they love. When I became a high school coach, I would invite my brother to come talk to my teams. He would share some of his success stories, some of his not so successful stories, and make fun of his little brother. My players instantly recognized the lessons he shared through the season as they all sounded familiar. They were the same, only they were coming from my older brother. He had been coaching them all through. I had passed along his wisdom acquired in both of our curiosities, and my brother would love them as he had loved me. They would love him as they did me. That was his power. That is our power. Over 20 seasons in 3 sports, my brother impacted every single player. I asked my brother to be a guest on my radio show. He shared our family history, the love of our mother, the curiosity that made us strong and vulnerable, wise and immature. loved, and feared. We talked about his professional curiosity, learning every position at his company so that he could not only help the bosses, but those working their way up in the company underneath him. He changed the way the company did business and how it took care of its employees. My brother is a man of incredible faith, and that might be his greatest standard. He goes forward and powers through because he trusts that the universe is paying attention to his motion and intent. That company is better now because of my brother. Every employee is better off now because my brother loved them, and he loved what he does. He simply loves. He shared the story of literally running from gangs and gang life. He ran track that way. I always pay attention to what he ran towards and away from. I pay attention to what people run toward and away from. I coach from that place. Be worthy of running towards. I'll say that again. Be worthy of running towards. Be a place of love and a person of strength. Faith is more than belief. It is acceptance and trust, and it travels and deserves sharing. I coach in his voice and his actions because change for the better requires action and love. Coaching for over 20 seasons, my brother has never received an award for any of them. My words here are not an accolade, just a thank you. Thank you, Robert. Thank you for coaching me. Thank you for coaching those who played for me. You, your words, your life impacted them too. As I read this, accept my thank you for whatever impact you were having on young people and old people. Thank you, you teachers, coaches, educators, mentors, parents, siblings, and neighbors. Thank you, doctors, nurses, lawyers, firemen and firewomen, and health providers, first responders, all. Thank you to those in our military service and those leading at service. Thank you for listening. Thank you for hearing, and thank you for understanding. Thank you for acting in love and being love in action. I say this to you directly. Thank you for the impact you have had and for the impact you will have. Impact travels. Influence travels. Love travels.